Hi, welcome to our On Demand. Today's lesson title is A Look at Art History for Women Artists. Our objectives: the learner will become familiar with 4 women artists and their artwork from 2 different centuries. The learner will review. It's not actually an interactive game in PowerPoint and a quiz in Brain Honey. It was, but I had to kind of change it around a little bit. It is kind of like a game though. And a quiz in Brain Honey. Our introduction question: can you think of the names of any women artists? I'm going to give you some thinking time for that. Hopefully you remember we studied Mary Cassatt in here, and she is a female artist from Pennsylvania. Women and art history. Art history is the study of art and artists of the past and the connections between their times and their artwork. In the past, many girls were not allowed to get an education, especially in art. If a girl's father was an artist, she sometimes had a chance to study art with him. Some women did become successful artists, but they were forgotten when they died. In the late 19th and 20th century, women have had more opportunities to study and work and live as artists. This is a picture of women art students in the 19th century. Women wanted to know more about those who came before. Art historians in recent years have been discovering the work of women artists, and now we know more about them. 2 16th century women artists. Sofonisba Anguissola. She was an Italian artist who lived from 1532 to 1625. Sofonisba was from a noble family. She was allowed to study art and was one of the first women to be accepted as an apprentice with professional artists of her times. Michelangelo saw her work and encouraged her. As a Renaissance artist, Sofonisba's style is the realistic portrayal of people, religious images, and scenes of daily life. In this portrait, she shows her skill in painting her mother. This was important in attracting wealthy patrons to commission her to paint them and their families. This was done in 1557. Sofonisba painted her family's everyday life or genre scenes, and here captured her sisters playing while a servant looks on. Notice the landscape in the far distance, which is often found in Italian Renaissance paintings. Catharina van Hemesen Flanders, 1528 to 1566. Catharina was the daughter of a successful painter, Jean Saunders van Hemesen, who taught her to paint. She painted religious subjects and portraits of wealthy patrons with a simple background. Catharina's Renaissance style does not use bright colors, but she paints strong figures and the backgrounds are plain. People in northern countries like Flanders wore simpler clothes than the Italian nobility. Compare these clothes to Sofonisba's mother's golden dress and the children's clothes in the chess game. Here's her mother's golden clothes. And here are their clothing in the chess game. So you can see they're very well decorated around the cuffs and up around the shoulders and around the neck with different colors and pleats and buttons and just all kinds of things happening in their clothing, and compared to Sophonisba's mother's kind of more plain. This lady has velvet sleeves and a beautiful skirt which stands out against the plain background. Then as now, people love to pose with their dogs. Two 17th century women artists. Artemisia Gentileschi, an Italian artist, 1593 to 1652. Artemisia was the eldest child of a painter, and she showed early promise, so she was allowed to study in her father's workshop. She was very successful with patrons and was a friend of Galileo. She followed her father to England, where she painted for the king. This is Artemisia's portrait of herself as an allegory or symbol of painting. This was a proud way to portray herself. She was confident in her art. When an artist paints a portrait of themselves, it's called a self-portrait. Artemisia's style was called Baroque, and she was influenced by Caravaggio. She was known for dramatic contrast between the dark and light areas of her paintings. Judith Leyster, a Dutch artist, lived from 1609 to 1660. Judith was the most famous Dutch female artist of the Baroque period. She painted family scenes, portraits, and still life. She learned to paint in a Haarlem workshop and was a friend of Frans Hals, the most successful Dutch artist at the time. By 1633, she was the first woman member of the Painters Guild, a society of professional artists in her city. This is called Two Children with a Cat, done in 1629. Baroque style means drama, and Judith often painted children using bright colors and joyful active poses. Look at the loose brush strokes in the hair and the angle of the children on the canvas. Judith painted average people in the middle of everyday life. They have a feeling of being almost a snapshot. Do you think the little girl knows about the eel? A boy and girl with cat and eel. This was done in 1635. And he's holding a little eel behind her and a cat. Can you name the artist? Now that you've learned about these four women artists, you'll have a chance to do what art historians do. They look at a painting they've never seen before and use what they know about the artist's style and the time period to decide who did it. They look at the artist's style, the colors, the brush strokes, the clothing of the people, the details in the background, and the type of background. This has a hint. Her Renaissance style does not use bright colors, but she paints strong figures and the backgrounds are plain. Hopefully you picked Catharina van Hemesen. This one has a hint. She painted family often and captured her sisters playing chess. That was Sophonisba Anguissola. This one hint is Baroque style means drama, and this artist painted children using bright colors and in joyful active poses. Did you guess Judith Lester? We just went over Judith. Good, okay. The next one, she was known for the dramatic contrast between the dark and light areas of her paintings. Artemisia Gentileschi. And our closure question: what is a portrait done by the artist of themselves called? I hope you guessed it. It was a self-portrait. Some art terms: the portrait, we know that as a drawing or a painting or a sculpture or photograph that represents a specific person, a group of people, or an animal. Portraits usually show what a person looks like and something about their personality. Self-portrait, a portrait done by an artist of themselves. Palette. A palette is the hard surface, often wood, often with a hole for the thumb for the artist to hold and mix the paints. The term palette may also refer to a range of colors used in a particular painting or by a particular artist. Oil paint. Slow-drying paint made from powdered pigments mixed with an oil. Malstick. A long wooden stick, usually with leather wrapped on one end, which the artist uses to support their brush hand by bracing against it. A patron. A patron is a person who supports the arts and artists. We've talked about them before, financially and emotionally. In Europe, in the past, artists were often supported by the royalty or the church. Academy. A group of professionals who form a society established for the promotion of the arts or sciences. Our independent practice: Women Artists Quiz, due January 13th, 2016. Use this PowerPoint that you're looking at for help, and watch the movie clip titled, "What Type of Art Is It?" Thank you guys. If you have any questions, you can email me, and we'll see you in the next class. Have a great day. Bye.